Welcome everyone to Global Purpose Speaks. My name is DJ Taz Rashid, and I'm a musician who travels to mindful festivals around the world and really a lot of events that has to do with spirituality and any kind of topics to do with awakening and what the world is going through right now in a spiritual sense. And these events are popping up everywhere. And so one of my passions is to have these kinds of conversations with other individuals who are on this path, global leaders, and just really learn about their unique missions and how they're changing the world as well. This series, talk series, is in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, and this is a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in Earth's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. So today, we're lucky, we have two individuals. Usually we just have one, but we have John Darrell Rue, who's one of the co-founders of Synergy Forum and also co-founder of Bright Alliance, as well as a facilitator for We Practice. And we have Dustin DePerna, who's a founder of Bright Alliance and co-founder of Synergy Forum. He's also an author, group facilitator, and a meditation instructor. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Taz.
Yeah.
Good to be here with you.
And John came all the way from Berlin this week to be with us, so we're very honored to have you here. And so you're both involved with many different things actually, but one thing in common is the Synergy Forum, which we'll discuss about today. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what exactly is a Synergy Forum, how is it different from maybe other forums, and how it got started?
So Synergy Forum is dedicated to the integration of spiritual awakening and social action. And we recognize that today humanity is navigating some big challenges in terms of our future together on this planet, and where Dustin and I feel very called to lend a hand and to make our contribution is spiritually informed approaches and contributions to global change. And so Synergy Forum is dedicated to that. I like to think of it as a field of empowerment. It's to empower the spiritual awakening, the expression of purpose, and also the collective synergy and the collaboration of people who are seeking to find their way into contributing and participating in positive global change.
And one of the ways that I like to frame it is that we, all of us know at some point in our lives that we need to go deeper with our own spiritual practice or awakening or sort of connection to something higher. We also at different points in time feel like we need to contribute to some sort of positive change in the world. And I sometimes describe this as the two main currents that came out of the 1960s. So one of those currents that was part of the big birth of the hippie movement turned their consciousness inward. They explored meditation, psychedelics, Eastern meditations from people like Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. We hear the Beatles doing meditation. And that has all of its benefits. Some people actually do come to a deeper sense of freedom or awakening from those internal practices. A whole nother current in the 1960s focused attention on social action. So we see the civil rights movement, we see all these efforts around environmentalism emerging, but the attention was mostly focused outward on the world. How do we improve the world, make it a better place? Each of those paths has a particular gift, and they each have a liability. So the gift is clearly that there's either internal transformation or external transformation. We need that for sure. The liability is that if you only focus on internal transformation, but that's all you do, sometimes you're left disempowered with real impact in the world. You actually don't have any positive effect. If you only focus on the outside, transforming the world, but do no internal transformation, what we often find is people get burnt out. The changes and the impacts that they make never have a lasting effect that really is ultimately rewarding. But when we combine these two streams, when we combine internal transformation with external action, we have the opportunity to weave together the very best of what emerged in the 1960s. So when John and I were first founding Synergy Forum, it was really with the impulse to bring these two currents together: internal transformation, external action, and collective synergy.
Amazing. So like from everything you guys have discussed and seen all the different forums, like what are some of the biggest needs right now in this global awakening movement? What are the trends that you're seeing that keeps coming up over and over?
I think what we see, Synergy Forum, we designed Synergy Forum to be it's like the harvest, the essentializing of what we learn in a period of years, 3 years that we worked with a group project based in Switzerland. where we had just a really wonderful opportunity to work with a project exploring what does social transformation from an awakened place look like. And what came out of it was synergy from at the end of that, as the best that we came to learn of how to take people through a process that fits them to participate and contribute to positive global change from the most whole, grounded, present, and joyful place, really. I think the world is experiencing such crisis at the current time that it's very easy for people to feel bogged down, for them to feel a very large weight of obligation or burden upon their shoulders. And so the idea that people can participate in global change from a place that's really joyful and where they are in touch with living their life in a deeply fulfilling way, the expression of their authentic purpose, the place, I like to think of it as the sweet spot where what turns a person on most in the world to do, and their greatest contribution to the whole are one. And so that people's contribution to global change can actually be something that's really fulfilling and joyful for them. I find that's a really positive and important message.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's that we've all seen the popularization of mindfulness, which is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Like more people that can be mindful, the better. But John and I both come from spiritual traditions that take a path beyond mindfulness. They take a path that allows us to begin to access aspects of our own awareness that are not only deeply interconnected with everyone and everything, but they lead to a level of awareness and presence that's vast and expansive. And from a certain perspective, begin to feel like you're not separate from the world or from the people around you. That maybe even the perspective that the entire universe is actually arising within the field of your own awareness. We found that despite the really positive efforts that have been made towards mindfulness and meditation, there's a lot further that many communities could go. And so we've designed Synergy Forum to provide a depth of practice and a path towards awakening that is deeply integrated with real life action. And I think one of our main intentions when we set out was to not limit ourselves with how deep we go. And in fact, the deeper you go, the more impact you can actually have in the world. And so the need that I think we're addressing in that way is to help those who maybe are already on a path or have already started to explore paths, show them what else is available further along the way.
Yeah, and something to add to that is, there's, I think we both come into contact with a lot of spiritual practitioners who've spent a really large amount of their time dedicated to deep spiritual practice, and as Dustin was saying before, then finding their way into how that contributes to the world. And I think there's a really big hunger for a really large number of people today for a really integrated spirituality, a spirituality that doesn't just stay on the mountaintop of some kind of awakening, but actually flows back into the world and contributes and participates with passion, especially in the current situation that faces humanity.
From what you guys have seen, like, what do you think that bridge is? Like, why are some individuals, like, when they're going through their path, like, maybe just, because I've seen this myself, where there's a lot of movements where they just want to concentrate on themselves. They don't necessarily want to go out there and help a foundation or do something. Like, what keeps those individuals in that inward space, and then how do some people make that, they're like, okay, I've done enough work on myself, now I want to go out there and maybe build a school or help this charity or be part of this movement or take some of that social justice, because that social justice area is sometimes what's really missing from a lot of spiritual foundations and organizations. So what causes that bridge, and then what keeps people away, do you think, from your experiences?
Great. So sometimes I like to use the human body as a simple tool for instruction about the spiritual path.
Yeah.
And so when we start off, when we get turned on to a spiritual path, it's sort of like opening up our crown and our forehead, our third eye. We open up to the possibility of deep interconnectedness. That's amazing, because that's the first step on the path. It's to open up to the sense of interconnectedness. We sometimes say opening to light, the infinite light. Fantastic. But waking up, that ascent, is this masculine force that takes us a little bit out of the body and open into the cosmos. After we've done that, the spiritual path naturally gains in its maturity. And as one deepens in their practice and in their path, that opening begins to descend, and it descends into the heart. Once that opening has descended into the heart, there's a feeling of service and connection and gratitude to all human beings. It's a natural part of the spiritual evolution. It's not something that has to be injected artificially. Once one's hold open that space of light, they drop into the heart, or the space of love. So we call that clear light and clear love. But that also is where many people who are, midway on the spiritual path, they sometimes stop there. And Synergy Forum is really designed to bring people all the way through, down through the lowest chakras, down into the base, and actually help them connect with their own power, their empowerment, their purpose, and their own potential for co-creation with each other. When the energy descends from the heart and comes into the base, there's a sense of unstoppable contribution that begins to come through, an unstoppable purpose. Or as John puts it, it's not that you no longer feel like you have a purpose, but you actually become purpose on a deep and fundamental level. So maybe you want to add something to that, because I think it's
You become the vision. It's just that you are the path. Like, that's it, yeah.
You feel the energy of purpose moving through you,
Yeah.
I think. And that is, you are plugged into, the current of what I would understand, what I think we'd understand is the current of evolutionary purpose, which is seeking to manifest itself on the planet one day today. What I'd add to this is that, for me, the missing piece that I perceive in why people sometimes don't transition from that place of inner work into outer contribution, sometimes it's just not their time at that particular time. And I like to take an attitude that just trusts what feels right for a particular person at a particular time, and to trust people to know what's right for them. Yeah. But with that, it's the matter of not just connecting to a dimension of their own being, a dimension of their own presence, which is one with everything, which is the same throughout all. It's the same presence that's breathing and arising through all life, but then actually connecting to how that is seeking to uniquely move through them, how the authentic stream of creativity and purpose, which is seeking to move through them. And that brings online the expression of just deep creative drive and passion and joy and fulfillment that if a person goes into a process of discovering that, allowing that to flow through their lives more and more, inevitably moves them out into a process of creativity and collaboration with others. It inevitably has them flow out towards the world in an action of service. And so my sense is that that's a big part of our Synergy Forum process, is it helps people not just connect to that depth of their own presence, which is one with the entire cosmos, actually, and at the same time, it's how is that seeking to express uniquely? What is the authentic drive of purpose and creativity seeking to move through you as an individual? And to support everyone to try and find what that is, whatever it might be. And it can be vastly different for different people. Yeah. And for them to then find the community of people who it's their possibility to co-create with, to build community with, and together to make a contribution to the world, whatever that might be for them.
I think another reason, too, that people don't always drop, in that natural progression of spiritual maturity, don't always drop down into the heart, is that it's important to recognize not all spiritual paths are created equal. Some paths actually stop and only emphasize the awakening into an interconnected sort of wholeness. They don't emphasize the importance of contribution and service. Some paths maybe emphasize awakening and service, but don't emphasize power. And it's only when that full spectrum is integrated that we actually bring the realization into the cells and the bone marrow of our physicality, and then bring it into action. In our opinion, it's only those paths who have actually taken it all the way. And I would even say that we don't stop there. There's a bit further than that. But at least in the Synergy Forums, we've tried to include each of those steps. And it's worth mentioning that Synergy Forum itself is simply a process. Yes, it's an entity, it's a series of gatherings, but it's a process and an engine that helps create a momentum for this global purpose. And in that way, we just simplify it as saying there's 3 steps. The first step is recognizing source. So we help each of the participants step by step come to understand what we mean by a deeper connection to this infinite reality that we truly are. The next is what we call unique emanation. We sometimes call that sovereignty or self. This is finding unique purpose, just like John was saying, how that realization comes into its unique form and offers itself into the world. And then after that, we actually come into this co-creative base, where we actually begin to share and synergize with each other, because it's only when sharing unique purposes that we actually have the culmination of what's possible, the potential emergent of collaborative opportunity. And it's those 3 steps that we actually bring people through in any synergy forum process, whether it's an hour, a day, 3 days, 7 days. The process is what stays continuous. It's that full waking up and waking down process moving into collaboration.
That's amazing.
And we also have the element of what we call relational practices. So a big part of the Synergy Forum event is that we guide people through practices and processes that build a field of deep connection, intimacy, and trust between them. And it's something that Dustin and I have learned is that if we are trying to create fields of transformation, then supporting people, guiding people through processes where they build just really heart open and heart connected fields of connection with each other is an incredibly powerful thing. It's incredibly powerful in one respect because authentic, unconditionally loving and caring and warm human contact is something that a really large number of people are highly deprived of. Most human beings are super deprived of deep, authentic contact with each other. And
especially
then,
with all the technology now, it's just
yeah.
dissipating more
I
and
would
more.
say sometimes somewhere between texting and Tinder, we lost real life.
Yeah.
And the other dimension of it is that actually that provides what we've learned as the most fertile ground for the process to break through into entirely new levels in other dimensions of the process. And so, as I said, this is really what we have come to learn so far as the most effective process that we can guide people through to help them connect to the most whole and awake and engaged and joyful approach to participating in global change that they can.
What would you say? What would you say right now, like the biggest challenges or your needs are as Synergy Forum? Like, because you've been going on for a while, you've had many meetings. Like, how are you guys like what's new for you, I guess, as well? Like, what are so what's new for you guys, and what are your needs as an organization?
Please speak to training, I'll speak to
Sure. Do you want to go first? So, at the moment we're interested to scale the process. You know, we recognise that. So Dustin's been working with the team in the US. I've been working with the team in Europe, delivering events, and that has been a really wonderful experience, and will continue to be. And it needs to grow further. You know, we feel the drive behind this that wants it to grow further. And so we're developing at the moment a process of training Synergy Forum facilitators, so people can become certified to deliver Synergy Forum events, and according to the same process that we've been speaking about, and to hopefully then be able to curate Synergy Forum events in their own areas, to travel and do it, and potentially also to create ongoing Synergy Forum processes, Synergy Forum communities of practice, communities of an increasingly awakened approach to social action in their local areas. So we see this as a good step towards the process expanding, scaling to the reach of what we've so far experienced as a process that people have given us the feedback has been really transformational in their lives, to be able to have greater outreach.
It's great.
Yeah, in addition to scaling, I think one of the things that's new and exciting is a deeper partnership with the Global Purpose Movement in general. And the Global Purpose Movement is one example of what's emerging around the planet right now. I sometimes say that there's a movement emerging that's polycentric. That's a fancy way of saying that it has many centers. It isn't just one person or one movement, but there's a synergistic movement of conscious individuals who have organizations who want to find deeper collaboration. The Global Purpose Movement has been convening individuals and organizations over the past 5 years, and has been holding those gatherings in different spaces around the world, particularly in the US. It's become very clear since last October. We ran a Global Purpose Movement gathering, but used Synergy Forum as the engine. So it was the process that we used to bring different organizations and individuals together for conscious collaboration. And what we found was that the model was extremely effective in that context.
Okay.
And so our new partnerships with Global Purpose Movement have now opened opportunities to take Synergy Forum to Europe. So we're doing a Synergy Forum in London next June, opportunities in India for 2018, and continued opportunities here in the US. So it's through deeper partnerships that we're finding both the potential to scale and the potential to widen our reach. So I think that's exciting. I think one of the challenges is that the Synergy Forum as a whole is something that by its very nature requires a high level of depth and experience in its facilitation process. So one of the challenges that we haven't quite run up against, but I assume we will as we start doing the facilitation training, is that we're going to have to train or find those people around the world who understand sort of the depth of the spiritual path and have a passion about social action. If we can find people who have both of those qualities
They're
together,
doing it. They're out there making it happen.
those are the
I'm
kind of people
confident
we
we
need.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. What are some of the ways that people can stay in touch with you guys and find out more events? Like, what are some of the best social media, website?
Yep. Synergyforum.org.
Okay.
synergyforum.org is one great way. There's a Facebook page.
Yeah, there's the Synergy Forum Facebook page, you can look us up. And at the same time, it's the globalpurposemovement.com website.
Okay.
Those, at the moment, are the ways to stay in touch.
And it sounds like you guys are doing some good things in the U.S. as well. Even this year, 2017, anything coming up very soon?
Yeah, well, this year,
Yeah.
November 6th, we'll be doing a Synergy Forum in Oakland at the Impact Hub in Oakland, California. It's an event open to the public, so we definitely encourage people to come. You can register through the Synergy Forum website or through the Global Purpose Movement website. And then coming in 2016, we'll be doing several events. We'll have a plug-in event on July 23rd. We're going to be partnering with IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences. We'll be doing a Synergy Forum following up on their main conference. So many, many other events, but on our websites and web pages you can find out.
That's
all the
amazing.
details.
You're scaling already, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, both of you. And it's exciting because we're going to do an individual interview for both John and Dustin. So if you're listening to this, make sure you check out our interviews with individuals, which we will speak directly about your personal paths and what you're also doing individually as an author, meditation facilitator, and you're teaching Tantric Buddhism. I'm sorry, Tibetan Buddhism. Do you do Tantric Buddhism?
It's basically the same.
Basically the same. And thank you everyone for another episode of Global Purpose Speaks. As I mentioned, my name is DJ Taz Rashid, and this talk series is in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, which is a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in the global's current shift towards a world that's really working for everyone. So you can join the conversation at globalpurposemovement.com, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, and namaste.